So we knew that recouping assets in this James Harden trade primarily kicked the can down the line and had the Sixers' sights set on another deal. Well, it looks like the first potential star could be shaking free, and the Sixers are showing interest. In this video, I'm here to break down if there's any legitimacy to the reports of the Sixers being interested in Donovan Mitchell and how I see his fit on the Sixers as a whole. Now, before I fully dive into it, I do want to make sure that you guys are hitting that subscribe button. At this point in time, 82% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed to the channel just yet. The Sixers season is in full swing. We are back in the trade rumors, back in the hunt for competing on the floor, and I'm going to be here start to finish this season. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, ringing that bell, and not missing out on any of the content. I want to keep this Sixers Digest family growing, and I need each and every one of you to be a part of it. So let's dive into the topic of today, which is this report. We start out with from Michael A. Scotto of Hoops Hype. Does some great work over there. He was joined by Keith Pompey on the podcast, and they were talking about the James Harden situation, and a name that popped up was Donovan Mitchell. So this by NBA Central tweeted, the Philadelphia 76ers are monitoring Donovan Mitchell's situation in Cleveland, per Michael Scotto, and the direct quote from Scotto is, quote, some potential targets to keep an eye on for Philadelphia include Zach LaVine, who can spread the floor, and OG Anunoby, who is loved by Coach Nick Nurse, which I think is important. He offers two-way versatility on both sides of the ball, and the 76ers have the necessary cap space to re-sign him this summer. Other names Philadelphia will monitor include Cavaliers all-star guard Donovan Mitchell and Pistons forward Bojan Bogdanovic, I'm told. So that is the latest report there that we see a bunch of these names. Some of these are pretty common that we've heard. I've already done videos on these Zach LaVine and OG Anunoby breakdowns, but Donovan Mitchell is a bit of a new face to this conversation. So I'll start by saying that it does seem like his time in Cleveland is numbered. That does not seem like the ideal spot that he wants to be. I will say Donovan Mitchell seems like a bit of a Hollywood kind of guy, that he wants a bigger market. The Knicks are a team that I think jumps out as a potential fit for him. And you do have to feel a little bit bad from the standpoint of a guy that seems to want a massive market, be a face of the NBA, and that the two franchises that he's played for have been the Utah Jazz and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Does not get much worse than that when it comes to a market of a team, and they're really being nothing around those cities. So a little frustrating from his perspective. We already got this report a couple months ago that Donovan Mitchell not expected to sign a Cavs contract extension in 2023. So what his current contractual situation is he's still on the books for the rest of this season. He is under contract for next year and then has a player option for the year beyond that. So the Cavs have the rest of this season and all of next year where he will for sure be under roster. I'm very confident that they at least see it out for the foreseeable future to see what this year looks like and see what the outcome is. I still do see a potential fit in the Cavs being a team that could take that leap. I like the setup of having the back line of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley to cover up for some of his defensive shortcomings. I love Darius Garland. I think he's a phenomenal player and a guy that goes underrated across the conversations in the league. But for Donovan Mitchell specifically, I do want to talk about the potential fit in Philly. We're going to continually see these rumors pop up. Now that these Sixers have this closet full of assets, that they clearly have this intention to continue to be in the hunt and flip into win now mode to grow up the contending list, the Sixers are going to be in the business of wheeling and dealing and trying to improve their team. Donovan Mitchell is probably the sexiest name on the market and the biggest name in the NBA picture, but I don't necessarily think he's the missing piece that is the Sixers team. I'll begin by taking a look at some of his stats here, and there's no doubt about what a talent that he is. I mean, coming off a season in which he averaged 28.3 points per game, 4.4 assists, 4.3 rebounds, a fairly efficient shooter for his career, 36.5% from beyond the three-point arc. Last season, he shot 38.6%. He's a guy who's a bit of a tweener when it comes to the guard position, but the biggest thing that holds me back in this conversation is still Tyrese Maxey. Donovan Mitchell, I think in a lot of people's heads, is a bigger talent, that he is well built. He's got a strong frame, but he only stands 6'1". That's what he measured in at the combine. That's what he's still listed at to this day. That is not a lot. And if you're having a backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and Donovan Mitchell, and Maxey being 2 inches bigger than Donovan Mitchell, by the way, that leaves a lot to be desired. And I think the missing part of the Sixers team is still on the wing, that we need a true wing defender, that when you look at the playoffs and how things are going to shake out, how the Sixers have to match up, I still don't really feel confident about anybody having to guard Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And the Celtics, as long as those two remain a part of Boston's future, will be a notable obstacle that the Sixers have to clear year in and year out. So that does have to be the focus. That is why a guy like OG Anunoby makes more sense to me than Donovan Mitchell. Now, I'm not disputing that Donovan Mitchell is a great talent across the NBA and would help the Sixers to a certain extent. They absolutely could benefit from another ball handler. I think that's something that's going to show face over these next stretch of games as we start to evaluate what this team truly is. But part of the beauty of this situation for these Sixers is they don't have to be in a rush. That they can sit back and evaluate things. By getting this Harden deal over with, you have a chance to figure out what is the ideal pairing with Tyrese Maxey. Maybe I'm wrong on this, and we will see over the next couple weeks if this could be the case. Maybe Maxey isn't at his best when he is the lead guard, having the ball in his hands, constantly creating the offense. Maybe he would benefit by having a Donovan Mitchell to run the show, allow him to move off ball, kind of fly around. Think of like a Klay Thompson scenario where he's able to cut, create his own shot without the ball, and he's just such a dynamic three-point shooter, a guy that is ranked top 5 in three-point percentage over the last 2 seasons. Maybe that is the outlook. I'm excited to get a better idea of this. And once again, why I think it's so important is because by getting this James Harden deal done, they kind of have time to wait things out. That if Daryl Morey had extended this timeline and waited up to the trade deadline and fought tooth and nail to get that maximum value for Harden, that kind of would have been their one and done move. By getting this out of the way, by having the deal complete, you can have as large of a sample size as you want to see for this season before you make a true decision. So this is kind of the benefit, that there's another card in their hand, that they can make another move and kind of put the finishing touches on this roster at this point in time. Now, to talk about Donovan Mitchell specifically, there is some history here in Philadelphia as well. I'll begin by pulling up this picture here. We know the Rookie of the Year situation started with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons did win Rookie of the Year over Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell wore this hoodie with the definition of a rookie. The backstory there being that Ben Simmons missed his whole first season in the NBA, then came back, returned, and then won Rookie of the Year over Donovan Mitchell. It was a neck-and-neck race. They were pretty close in the voting that season. There was a ton of heated conversation back at that point in time between the Utah Jazz fans, Sixers fans, from Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons specifically. Now, at this point in time, I think we've all turned completely heel on Ben Simmons, and there will be zero defending of him across the city limits, and it all is forgiven. And if it comes down to those two specifically, the city of Philadelphia is riding and dying with Donovan Mitchell, whether or not he's a member of the Sixers or not at this point in time. So that is all water under the bridge, but I do think it's funny that there was some kind of pointed direction between Mitchell and the Sixers, but we see this all over the place, that things change, situation change, guys' outlooks change, and as that happens, people move on. So that isn't something that I would say hold it up, but I do think is a funny little comment to note. But I still circle back to the long-term picture being my biggest concern here. I don't believe that a backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and Donovan Mitchell is quite the championship contender that I think many are hyping it up to be. I think their respective defensive shortcomings are going to be limiting in a postseason fashion, that each of them have some weaknesses in that area that can be taken advantage of. And when you combine both of them, even having an elite rim protector like Joel Embiid behind them, it still puts the team in a tough position. So while I'm very happy to see the Sixers back in the mix, back in the trade rumors, and I think this is going to continue, this is not one that I'm rushing to get done. And by the way, I don't think the Cavs are either. That I think they are sitting back and they want to at least see how this season goes. They made a huge investment when they went out and traded for Donovan Mitchell when the Jazz first traded him, and they only have had 1 year to kind of see how it works so far. Mitchell, I do believe, could be that guy. I think he's a legitimate NBA superstar. He's a guy with phenomenal talent, and I think could work on this Cavs team. Max Strus has looked really good since coming over. Georges Niang, former Sixer, making his impact, and they need his shooting there. So there are things to like about this Cavs team. So I don't think it's going to be in a rush from their mind. And from the Sixers' perspective, it is still the best option to continue sitting back and evaluating. That we've yet to even see what this new look team looks like. What does Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, Nicholas Batum do to change this picture? Do I think any of them are super valuable as far as making a difference in these Sixers championship chances? Probably not, but we still would be nice to see what they look like on the floor, and more importantly, see what is missing beyond that, of what still needs to be added to this team for them to take that leap. And even as the Sixers sit in all this uncertainty, even as there's all this conversation about what's next, who will play, how good is this team, I still feel very confident saying that the Sixers are the third best team in the Eastern Conference. Yes, I will tip my cap and give the edge to the Boston Celtics and to the Milwaukee Bucks, but you look down the rest of the standings, and I will go toe-to-toe with you on any one of those teams. That I think the Cavaliers are still a notch below the Sixers, even with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I don't think the Knicks can reach the Sixers to this point, and I think that the top-end talent of having Joel Embiid and having Tyrese Maxey is enough to keep them in the hunt, basically regardless of who the other three players on the floor are. Now, does that mean that you can ride with that and roll with that? Absolutely not. They still should be working to improve those guys, but I don't think they need to jump and leap at the first opportunity. Let's sit back. Let's make sure we get this move right and make sure that the final touches on this team can be done through this trade. I don't think Donovan Mitchell is that guy at this point in time, but I am excited to see the Sixers keep being thrown in these rumors, keep being thrown in this mix, and I think that is a great sign of things to come. But I do want to hear your guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for tuning in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I wrong? Do you think Donovan Mitchell is the guy? Why is that? Let me hear it. Let me know if you agree with me. I want to hear it all in the comments. Once again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know how you're feeling in the comments as well. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. I'll be back with you next time right here on Sixers Digest.